Once you have all of your data, you need to actually process it, which means we need to find an average, we need to find the standard deviation, and the coefficient of variation. So we're not going to graph all 10 people's 3 trials each. We're going to find the average of each condition. So down below here, you're going to start typing another little table. The first cell here is going to be blank. This is going to say your condition 1. So in my example, it will be audible. Actually, it'll be reaction time to audible stimulus. This is where we really want to get specific about what we're measuring. You're going to notice that this is a really long title. So instead of making the whole column wide, there's another trick you can do. If you come up here to wrap text, it makes it go into the box below. So that way the column doesn't have to get wider. I'm going to put that heading there, and I'm going to say the next heading is reaction time to visual stimulus. Again, I'm going to have to wrap the text, and it fits in a box. Then I'm going to list the ways I need to process this data. The first way is to find the average. It's the average of the averages. Next up, we're going to need standard deviation. I can wrap text that again if I like. Third is the coefficient of variation, comparing the standard deviation to the mean. Wrap text that. And then I usually leave a blank because these aren't connected, and we're going to find the percent difference, or the percent change between the two categories. I've made my blank table, so again I'm going to highlight all of the places where I want the lines, come on up here and put some lines in. That way it looks nice and neat, and we're ready to go. Because I have these labeled well, I know exactly what goes into this box. So I'm going to do the equation that we did up above, equals average, open parentheses. But this time I want all of the audible reaction time averages. So I click and drag to highlight those averages. Close my parentheses, hit enter. Sadly, you can't do the fun dragging trick because these are too far separated. So I have to type it again, equals average, open parentheses, highlight the second condition's averages, close parentheses, hit enter. It should keep the same decimal places. If not, you can go back up and change the zeros again as needed. Now, standard deviation has a slightly different equation, so it is equals STDEV, and you can see these start to pop up. We want the dot P, so I still type it, but it shows me my choices. Open parentheses. Now in this case, because standard deviation is showing you a range of how spread out the data is, we're going to actually highlight all of the raw data, not the averages. So all of the trials of all of the people, close our parentheses, hit enter. Same thing over here, equals stdev.p, open parentheses, highlight all of your raw data, close parentheses, enter. This is where the decimals come into play, so I'm going to highlight both of those, titch those zeros back down to the same that I measured, which is a tenths place in this case. Last but not least, coefficient of variation. If you remember, the definition is the standard deviation divided by the mean times 100 to make it a percent. So the way that we do that in Excel, we still start with an equal sign to say do some math, but this time we need an order of operation. So we open parentheses, we click on the cell with standard deviation, we hit the slash for divide by, and we click on the average cell, close parentheses, and hit times 100. So shift 8 will give you the time symbol times 100. Enter. Same over here. Let's try it again. Equals, open parentheses, standard deviation divided by mean, close parentheses, times 100. Now these are percentages. I'm going to titch down the zeros. But remember, lower percentage is better. So in both of these cases, my made-up numbers here to the audible stimulus had a lower standard deviation and a lower coefficient of variation, which means these are more reliable. But remember, these are made-up numbers. All right, last but not least, percent difference. This is where you take the final minus the initial divided by the initial times 100. So we have to start with the equal sign for math. This time we start with 2 open parentheses. Because visual is second, I'll make that my final. You click on the cell. Minus sign, initial. Here's where you close your first parentheses. We're going to divide slash by the initial. So still in the middle of this cell, click, it should show up again down here. Close your second parentheses and times 100. So shift 8, 100. Means there's a 43% increase in the time from audible to visual. Make sure my decimals go back down to tenths, and that is